Hello and welcome. My name is Lexi and today we're talking about the Lisa Eldridge Liquid Lurex eyeshadows. So this is my first time trying them. They did come out like a year or so ago and she has just recently added some new shades. So I picked up two of the previous shades, Iris, and I'm not sure exactly how to say this, if it's Anais or Anais. But then I also picked up Cressida, which is one of the new shades. And this one, is a really useful, versatile shade that you can definitely use like as a highlight and everything as well on the cheeks. So let's go ahead and start with swatches. All right, so we're going to start off with Iris, and Iris really called to me because I love purple and she has done some beautiful looks with this. So I do have a demo with this. It's a very messy demo. I was just kind of playing around with it. It was my first time using this formula, so I kind of wanted to just play around. But look at this shade of purple. So it's kind of this beautiful royal purple. There's a little bit of a metallic finish to it. And when the light hits it a certain way, you can see a little bit of multicolored shimmer. You don't see any like glitter particles in it, but it's just kind of the way the light hits it. And Lisa Eldridge has described it as a mirror ball blend of multicolored pearls that dance across the lids. So that's a quote from her website, and that's going to be true of all of the shades. There are 14 shades, and she has that effect in all of them. So that's Iris. This is Anais. And Anais, it's really beautiful. On the eyes, when you kind of blend this out, it's going to end up being a little bit softer. You can see kind of here at the tail, this is what it's going to look like. So it's almost more of a soft taupe shimmer when you really buff that out. But when you have it built up a bit more, it's more of an olive-based taupe. So there's a little bit of taupe in there, but it's going to be mostly olive. And the purple, you'll see that blended out more softly as well. And then Cressida is your pearl shade. And that's just kind of like your classic, great for like inner corner highlighting on the face. It's going to be a soft pearl champagne. So these are the three that I picked up. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about the formula while we go through these demos. So the Lisa Eldridge Liquid Lurex eyeshadows have a wand. You can see how bendable it is here. And this is going to be a foam tip applicator. Recommendations for application would be to apply directly with the wand. And you can then either go in with a finger or a brush to kind of soften that and spread that out. So those are the recommended tips from Lisa Eldridge. These shadows are cruelty-free, they're vegan, and they are they have no parabens, talc, fragrance, nylon 12, D6, D5, or silicone. And she does have all of the ingredients listed on the website, so if you have any allergies, definitely check those out. They retail for $27 US. There are 14 different shades, and there are 2.8 milliliters of product in each. These are considered smudge proof once they set, and she recommends using oil-based remover to take them off at the end of the day. So just a few thoughts as we're looking at these demos. Again, this demo here with Iris is very messy. I was just kind of playing around with it. And really, you want to go in with thin layers and build up that way. And I do think that although I used a lot of brushes during these demos, I think finger application really gives you the best finish with these. So I would definitely recommend, adding a drop with the applicator either to the eyes or the back of the hand, and then using a finger to blend it out. And it really feels more like a vinyl texture when you do that. You can definitely feel, it's reminiscent of her highlighter. So if you have tried her highlighter before, it kind of has a little bit of that vinyl texture to it. This feels like that, but it has a little bit more powder infused into it. And as a matter of fact, when this dries, I actually do feel, it feels a little powdery. So the claim that it's smudge proof, for me, that has not held true. These do not smudge or smear throughout the day unless you touch them. But if I do go and touch them, I do remove shadow. Even with a light layer, I'll still see a little bit. Obviously, if you have a light layer, you're going to see less of it come off. But yes, I can still kind of smudge them if I touch them. But when I smudge it, it feels more like powder coming off, as though I have a powder eyeshadow on and I touch it and I get a little bit of that powder on my finger. And that's what it feels like, and that's what it looks like on my skin. And when it does smudge, it actually hasn't really affected the eye look too much. It's very easy to just kind of fix and smooth that out again. If you are new to liquid eyeshadows, there is definitely a little bit of a learning curve applying liquid eyeshadows to get the look that you want, the looks that you see like on Instagram and so forth. Obviously, I don't have those skills. Liquid eyeshadows are not my forte, and I like playing with them, but they, they can be a little bit difficult to, achieve exactly the look that you're looking for. So if you are new to them, I would definitely recommend starting with some of the lighter shades like Cressida or Anais, and leave Iris, until you've tried them out a little bit and see if you like the texture. Iris, however, if you have a deeper shade that you're absolutely drawn to, even if you're a beginner, these are great to use like as eyeliner and so forth as well. And they really don't move around or anything like that, again, unless you're touching it. So I think, it's a really nice formula. Overall, I'd have to say these liquid eyeshadows are really nice, and they are some of my favorite ones that I've used. Now, as for performance of these shadows, I really haven't noticed any creasing or anything after a long day. And you can see it with this demo here, there's a little bit of a wear test afterwards, so you can kind of see what it looks like after several hours. That's without primer. These shadows, you can use a primer with them if you have very oily lids, but unless you have oily lids, she recommends, just going straight in with this product. Kind of has all of those properties built in. And again, I think everything holds up beautifully throughout the day. If you're not like touching and rubbing your eyes, you're not going to have any smudging or anything. They're not going to smudge just from your eyelids alone. They're not going to crease from that. The only way you're going to actually move product is if you are actually touching it and moving it physically. So I think, they're a really great product. They're very comfortable. I haven't noticed any irritation from using these, and you can use them again as eyeshadows, eyeliners. You can even use these like on the face as, a highlight and so forth. And they just have this really nice shimmer. I do really like this mirror ball effect. So I have to say these are really nice liquid shadows. They are some of my favorites that I've used. Let's go ahead and take a look at some comparisons. So we're going to start off with the RMS eye lights, and I have to say I really love these. The consistency of these is going to be a little bit thicker. You can see here that it's more pasty versus like a true liquid. This one here is the shade Blaze. We're just going to put this right here so you can kind of see that. And this is going to be a bit more of a mauve shade. So it's kind of a soft, kind of like a dusty lilac mauve. So there's definitely going to be a little bit more of that warm rose in there. It's a little bit warmer. And then we have the shade Strobe, which is going to be a really pretty kind of like a taupe shade here. And that, you can see it's going to be more brown than Anais. There's a shade called Emily on the Lisa Eldridge website. It's sold out right now, so I wasn't able to purchase that. But this reminds me of what I think Emily will look like, and it's one of my favorite shades. So these eye paints, I have to say, I really love the formula of the RMS highlights. I think they're really easy to use. If you are not familiar with liquid shadows and they are kind of new to you, I do think that the highlights are really easy to use. And because they have a slightly thicker consistency, they're a little bit easier unless you have experience with liquids, just because, it's kind of staying in place a little bit longer and they don't dry quite as quickly as the Lisa Eldridge. You do need to work fast with liquid shadows, and you want to do one eye at a time. I also have a bunch of the Danessa Myricks Color Fix, and these are a really great liquid shadow. They're really more of a liquid pigment, and they come in a bunch of different finishes. This is going to be a little bit more liquidy in texture. This is one of the foils in the shade Parade, and this is not going to be quite like Iris, but you can see you've got a lot of multicolor shift in this. But again, this one's a foil. She also has matte shades as well. This one, again, is going to have a more similar texture to the Lisa Eldridge. Now, we also have the shade Trooper here. This is going to be one of the mattes. And this one here is going to be a little bit more similar to Anais, but you can see it's going to be much deeper. You can see how that blends out. And these are really smudge proof. Now another favorite of mine would be the Violette FR Yo Paint liquid eyeshadows. And if I had to pick just one, these would be my favorites. Got a hair stuck to my hand, but you can see this shade here. This is Scarabée D'Or. Look at that. So she's got mattes and she has shimmers, but she doesn't have a very large color lineup yet. So in my personal opinion, as somebody who does not have a lot of experience with liquid eyeshadows, the Violette FR are slightly easier to use than the Lisa Eldridge. And that's purely because the Lisa Eldridge blend out so easily and so thinly that if I really want to get a lot of pigmented color, I do need to build it up in layers and you have to work quickly. So the Violette FR, I feel like it's just slightly more pigmented at that thinnest base layer. Both of them feel very weightless on the eyes. You need to work quickly with both of them, and they both have a very nice texture. I would say that the Lisa Eldridge feel almost more like a vinyl that dries to a powder finish, whereas these just feel like a very thin layer of, like a liquid paint that dries. So both of them are very comfortable, but they do have different textures. So we have a couple of the Chanel liquid eyeshadows. I wanted to compare these colors here. This is number 33 Lame Bronze. This came out back with holiday last year. And you can see here that this consistency, it's a little bit, this one was not as effective as most of the Chanel ones. You can see this one's gonna be more bronze, not quite as green as Anais. And this consistency is a little bit watery, so it goes on a little bit patchy. So the Lisa Eldridge, in my opinion, is gonna be a little bit better than the Chanel in general. We also have the shade 22 Rayon. And this one, let's take a look at this one with Cressida. You can see that the Chanel is gonna be peachier. Now, this is one of the first shades released, and this one has a very nice thin texture. Unfortunately, with Chanel, they just weren't all that consistent with all of their shades, but this was one of the good ones. I would say it's similar in texture to the Lisa Eldridge, but the Lisa Eldridge has a little bit more of that vinyl texture, and it just they're both really great, but again, the Lisa Eldridge will kind of have more of that powdery finish that makes it just slightly more comfortable in the eyes after everything sets than the Chanel. One more Chanel that I wanted to take a look at. This is Desert Wind. And we're just going to squeeze it right here just to see how that color matches Anais. You can see this is going to be more taupe. And last up, I wanted to take a look at the Sisley liquid eyeshadows. This is shade number 1, Champagne. Let's go ahead and put this here. Now, the Sisley liquid eyeshadows, some of them have been great and some of them have not been good. So I find them to be inconsistent. I don't think that they are worth the money personally. This particular Champagne shade has worked really well, but not all of the other ones that I purchased have. And this is Cressida, so you can see that Cressida is going to be cooler. You can see just from the texture of applying this from the wand that the Lisa Eldridge is a little bit creamier. You can build this up a little bit more, whereas the Sisley is going to be thinner. They both feel great. They both look great when you get a good application, but the Lisa Eldridge is going to be easier to use. So as somebody who does not have a lot of experience with liquid eyeshadows, my personal favorites would be the Violette FR, the Lisa Eldridge, and the RMS Eyelights. Those would be my top 3, followed then by the Danessa Myricks Color Fix. And those would be my top ones. So I hope this was helpful. If you have been interested in trying liquid eyeshadows, these are definitely a great way to start. I would recommend starting with a lighter color, kind of buffing it all over as a base, playing with these. You can definitely layer shadows, like powder shadows and so forth with these as well, and try them out as a liner. I think they are really easy to use. There's a great array of colors, and I love the soft shimmer effect that's not glittery or sparkly. So it's kind of that sophisticated glow. And thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you've tried these, what your thoughts have been on these. And thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you very soon. Have a great day.